Someone extraordinary is listening right now. You are not here by chance. The universe conspired to bring you to this exact second for a reason. Something deep inside you has been waiting for a shift, and it is finally arriving. You have pushed through exhaustion. You have handled everything that was placed on your shoulders. You have been stuck, watching money slip away, carrying obligation after obligation, playing the role of the one who always holds everything together. Quietly, you wondered if feeling destined for more was just wishful thinking. But listen closely. You are standing at the threshold of something extraordinary. What is coming is not payment for your pain. It is a response to your alignment. The prosperous version of yourself is not someone foreign. It does not demand that you become false, harder, or colder. It is simply the version of you that was postponed, not rejected. Wisdom tells us that a vision has its appointed hour, and when it speaks, it does not lie. That hour is now. Abundance is not chasing you because you begged for it. Abundance is recognizing you because you have finally become someone who can receive without guilt, without fear, without shame. Stay with this. Let it reframe who you are. Let it give you permission to step into what you already know you are meant for. If this lands in your spirit, comment ARC 777 to mark yourself as one who was made for this moment. Say, I am wealthy as a declaration of alignment, and make sure you are subscribed because every step forward is bringing you closer to the person you were always meant to become. Let me speak to the part of you that stays quiet, the part that handles bills first and puts itself last, the part that learned to survive long before it ever learned to receive. You did not arrive here chasing fortune. You arrived here because something in you grew exhausted from carrying weight that was never meant to stay permanent. There was a season when money felt heavy to you, not because you resented it, but because every dollar carried a responsibility. Rent, family, expectations, promises you made when you had almost nothing yet still said yes. You became dependable. You became the one who figured everything out. And slowly, without anyone noticing, you started to believe that being reliable meant putting yourself on hold. Hear this gently, that delay was not punishment, it was preparation. There is a vast difference between lack and restraint. Lack drains you, restraint trains you. The universe did not starve you. It trained your hands so that when overflow arrives, it does not destroy you. I understand what it feels like to want more yet feel a quiet panic when money actually leaves your hand. Not because you do not trust the universe, but because you have been the safety net for so long that hoping freely started to feel dangerous. I have been there, standing in a grocery aisle running totals in my head before reaching the register, saying I am fine while silently praying nothing breaks this month. Loving life deeply yet wondering why prosperity seems to notice everyone else first. That tension does not mean you are faithless. It means you are human, and you have been strong longer than most people ever have to be. Without relief, that strength eventually hardens the heart. That is why this message is not about convincing you that money is coming. It is about loosening the grip you have held just to stay afloat. Wisdom speaks of a vision waiting for its hour, but when it speaks, it does not lie. That waiting season was not silence. It was alignment forming beneath the surface. You did not miss your window. Your window was being shaped. Notice this. You do not just want money, you want peace when money moves. You want to spend without flinching. You want to give without tallying what it will cost you later. That desire did not come from greed. It came from exhaustion. You are tired of living in constant management mode where everything must be controlled or something falls apart. The universe sees that readiness. There is a reason prosperity has felt just out of reach. Not because you are unworthy, but because an earlier version of you would have made money your proof of worth. And proof was never meant to be your foundation. Identity is. When prosperity comes before identity, it becomes a burden. When it follows identity, it becomes a tool. You have already noticed the shift. The old affirmations do not hit the same. Repeating money comes to me no longer soothes you, because deep down you know money has always been able to come. The real question was whether you were allowed to keep it, enjoy it, let it stay. That is the permission you have been waiting for. You were never meant to earn rest through suffering. Rest was meant to come through alignment. There is a quiet recalibration happening inside you right now. You're beginning to see that your worth was never tied to how much you could endure. That realization alone is a sign of elevation. In this framework, increase does not begin with more. It begins with release. Release of guilt. Release of the belief that ease means laziness. Release of the identity that says, if I am not struggling, I am not doing enough. I remember the first time money came easily after a long dry season. I did not celebrate. I panicked. I wondered how long it would last. That reaction taught me something important. My circumstances had changed faster than my identity. The universe had shifted the flow, but I was still living like scarcity could return at any moment. This message exists to close that gap. You are learning how to feel safe when receiving, how to let abundance circulate without bracing for impact. That is not something they teach. That is something you grow into. And growth always feels uncomfortable right before it stabilizes. You do not need to work more to deserve more. You have already proven your commitment. What is being asked of you now is genuine surrender. Not the kind that waits for disaster, but the kind that trusts timing. Even when logic demands urgency, there is a difference between patience and postponement. You were postponed by circumstances. You are now being invited into patience by wisdom. The prosperous version of you is calmer than you expected. Less rushed, less reactive, more grounded. That version does not chase opportunities. Opportunities recognize it. Not because of ego, but because alignment creates gravity. Money flows toward stability, toward clarity, toward people who do not abandon themselves the moment pressure rises. This is why your delay had purpose. You learned how to stay when things were thin. That same steadiness is what will allow you to stay when things are abundant. Take a breath here. Let your shoulders drop. You do not need to prove anything in this moment. You do not need to visualize harder or repeat affirmations louder. You only need to allow the idea that abundance can arrive without drama, that prosperity can come quietly, that joy does not need justification. You are not late. You are right on time. And the next step is not striving, it is consenting. There is something else you need to hear, and it may challenge the story you have been telling yourself. The reason prosperity has felt delayed is not because you were unworthy, and not because the universe was testing you endlessly. It is because you were still carrying identities that could not go with you into abundance. You learned early how to be useful, how to be needed, how to be the one people relied on when things fell apart. That role kept you safe. It gave you a place, but it also quietly taught you that your value came from how much you could hold, fix, sacrifice. Over time, sacrifice became familiar, even comfortable. The universe does not build prosperity on sacrifice. It builds it on stewardship. There is a moment when being the helper turns into being hidden, when being humble turns into being invisible, when being responsible turns into being restrained. You did not choose that consciously. It accumulated through years of saying later to yourself so others could have now. I know that feeling. Walking away from opportunities because the timing was not right for everyone else. Turning down risks because too many people depended on you. Watching others leap while you calculated consequences. That was not fear. That was loyalty. And the universe honors loyalty deeply. But loyalty has a season. Wisdom speaks of seasons where a person is hidden not to diminish them, but to mature them. Like seed in soil, hidden does not mean forgotten. Buried does not mean dead. Delayed does not mean denied. It means development in the dark. The prosperous version of you is not built on urgency. It is built on stability, and stability requires you to let go of identities that thrived in survival mode. You have noticed it already. The old pressure to hustle feels wrong now. The constant grind does not excite you. It exhausts you. That is not laziness. That is transition. When a season ends, the methods that once worked begin to irritate your spirit. That irritation is guidance. The universe is not asking you to do more. It is asking you to stop doing what no longer fits who you are becoming. There was a time when you had to push just to survive, to stay ahead of bills, to keep your head above water. In that season, effort was your lifeline, but now effort without alignment feels heavy because you are no longer meant to survive. You are meant to steward. Stewardship requires clarity, rest, trust, and trust cannot grow in constant emergency mode. Emergency mode kept you alive, but it cannot take you into abundance. Notice something about yourself. You do not envy reckless wealth. You do not admire flashy success. What you desire is quiet security, peaceful overflow, the kind of prosperity that does not demand performance. That desire reveals your assignment. You were never meant to be loud with money. You were meant to be grounded with it. That is why your journey looks different. I remember when my income finally exceeded my expenses consistently. I thought relief would come instantly. It did not. Instead, I felt exposed, like the safety of struggle had been removed. Struggle had been my excuse, my explanation, my shield. Without it, I had to confront something deeper. Who am I when I no longer need to fight? That question is sacred. Many people sabotage abundance because they do not know who they are without pressure. You are being spared that confusion by this season of inner preparation. The universe is teaching you how to remain whole when things are easy, how to stay humble without shrinking, how to enjoy without apologizing. This is why you have been asked to slow down internally, even while life still demands responsibility externally. There is an internal reordering happening. Old beliefs about money, effort, worth are being gently dismantled. Not violently, not suddenly, but deliberately. You may have noticed that money conversations trigger mixed emotions in you, gratitude and tension, hope and caution. That tension is not resistance, it is recalibration. Your nervous system is learning a new baseline, learning that abundance does not equal danger, that receiving does not mean loss later, that having more does not require becoming someone you do not recognize. Prosperity is not meant to cost you your soul. If it ever feels like it might, the universe delays it until your soul is strong enough to stay intact. That delay protected you. There is also something else you need: permission to release the belief that struggle made you spiritual, that lack kept you close to purpose, that ease would somehow distance you from your calling. Those beliefs are subtle but powerful. They bind good people to unnecessary hardship. Money does not corrupt alignment. Fear does. When money comes from fear, it controls. When money comes from alignment, it circulates. You are being prepared for circulation, not anxiety-driven accumulation. You were never meant to hoard. You were meant to host peace, host provision, host generosity without depletion. That requires capacity, and capacity is built through seasons like the one you have walked through, where you learned boundaries, discernment, patience. Look back, honestly. You are not who you were 5 years ago. Your discernment is sharper. Your priorities are clearer. Your tolerance for chaos is lower. That is growth. That is readiness. The prosperous version of you is not impatient. It is anchored. It does not rush opportunities because it trusts timing. And that trust is exactly what is being sealed in you now. You do not need to force belief. You do not need to convince yourself that abundance is coming. You only need to stop arguing with the idea that it can arrive gently. Let that sink in gently. No collapse, no dramatic turning point. Just alignment clicking into place. Resources meeting readiness. Flow matching frequency. This is not about becoming someone new. It is about releasing the version of you that was built for survival, so the version built for stewardship can finally step forward. And that transition, though quiet, is one of the most powerful moments a person ever experiences. There is a subtle fear that has lived beneath the surface for a long time, and it is time to name it without shame. It is the fear that if abundance finally comes, you will not recognize yourself anymore, that somehow ease will soften you too much, or success will separate you from the version of you that learned how to endure. You do not say that fear out loud. You disguise it as responsibility, as caution, as wisdom. But beneath it is a question your spirit has been asking quietly. Who will I be when I no longer need to struggle to feel valuable? That question matters more than money ever could. Your struggle shaped you, but it was never meant to define you. You learned resilience because you had to, not because it was your destiny. And now the universe is asking you to loosen your grip on the very patterns that once kept you safe. Safety and destiny are not always the same thing. There was a time when being alert, prepared, slightly tense was necessary. when you had to watch every move because one mistake could cost too much. That constant awareness trained your mind to scan for danger even in moments of rest. That is why when things start to go well, you sometimes feel uneasy instead of grateful. Peace feels unfamiliar. Quiet feels suspicious. That reaction is not a flaw. It is a sign that your nervous system was trained in survival, and survival mode does not turn off just because circumstances change. It turns off when identity changes. This is why affirmation alone never fully worked for you. Saying "I am wealthy" without resolving "I am safe" creates tension. Your spirit wants expansion, but your body remembers contraction. So the universe is healing you gently, layer by layer, instead of flooding you before you are ready to stay open. I have seen this pattern in my own life. There were moments when doors opened faster than my sense of safety could keep up. Opportunities that looked like blessings but felt overwhelming. I thought something was wrong with me because I did not immediately feel joy. But what I was actually experiencing was integration. My outer world had shifted, but my inner world was still catching up. Prosperity that arrives faster than integration creates anxiety. Prosperity that arrives after integration creates peace. That peace is what is being built in you now. You may notice that you are less impressed by noise, less moved by hype, less willing to rush into things just because others say it is time. That is not hesitation. That is discernment maturing. The prosperous version of you does not need external validation to act. It listens inwardly first. The universe trusts you with abundance because you do not idolize it. You respect it. You understand its weight. You have seen what happens when money lands in unprepared hands, how it amplifies wounds instead of healing them. That awareness disqualified you from reckless gain, but it qualified you for sustainable prosperity. There is also grief you have been carrying that you did not know how to name. Grief for the years you spent being strong when you wanted to be supported. Grief for the help you did not receive because everyone assumed you had it handled. Grief for the version of you that had to grow up too fast. That grief deserves acknowledgement. Money is not meant to compensate for lost tenderness. It cannot replace being seen. And the universe knows that if abundance had come earlier, it might have distracted you from that grief instead of healing it. So the timing was intentional. Now something is changing. You are beginning to allow softness without guilt, rest without justification. You are letting yourself want ease without immediately explaining why you deserve it. That shift is not small. It is foundational. It tells the universe that you are ready to receive without self-punishment. Abundance does not require you to abandon humility. It requires you to abandon self-denial, disguised as humility. True humility is knowing your value without inflating it or diminishing it, and that balance is rare. It is why so few people can hold wealth without being consumed by it. You are being trained for balance. There is also a reason your wealth path feels quieter than others. You are not meant to prove. You are meant to embody. Your life is meant to be a signal, not a spectacle. People will feel something around you they cannot explain. Stability, calm, confidence that does not announce itself. That kind of presence attracts resources naturally. Money moves toward peace because peace indicates wisdom. You may still have moments where doubt whispers. What if nothing changes? That whisper is not prophecy. It is residue, old neural pathways releasing their final grip. You do not need to fight those thoughts. You only need to not obey them. Thoughts pass, identity stays, and your identity is shifting from one who manages scarcity to one who hosts flow. Flow does not mean excess at all times. It means movement without obstruction. It means trust that what leaves will return in appropriate form. It means no longer bracing for collapse when generosity happens. This is why giving has felt complicated for you. Not because you are selfish, but because giving used to mean depletion. The universe is rewriting that association, teaching you that giving from overflow feels different than giving from obligation. Notice how your heart responds when you imagine having more than enough. Not just enough to pay bills, but enough to breathe, enough to choose, enough to say no without fear. That image does not excite you wildly. It calms you. That calm is your compass. You are never chasing luxury. You are chasing relief. And relief is coming. Not as an escape, but as a settling, a deep exhale after a long season of holding it in. permission to stop bracing and start receiving. The prosperous version of you is not louder, it is steadier. It does not rush to prove alignment. It trusts alignment to reveal itself through consistency, peace, quiet increase. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are not imagining your calling. You are in the final stages of becoming safe with what you ask for. And that safety, internal, emotional, spiritual, is what allows wealth to finally arrive and stay. There is a sacred threshold you are approaching, and it is not marked by numbers in a bank account. It is marked by a quiet inner permission that says, I no longer need struggle to feel legitimate. That permission is rare, and it is the true gatekeeper of wealth. Most people believe money changes circumstances, but money actually reveals identity. It magnifies what already lives beneath the surface. That is why the universe is meticulous with timing. It does not release increase into confusion, it releases it into clarity. You have been growing clearer. There was a time when your prayers were loud, urgent, filled with requests. You needed answers. You needed relief. And the universe heard every one of them. But as seasons passed, something shifted. Your prayers became simpler, quieter, less about asking and more about listening. That shift was not disappointment. It was maturity. You are no longer begging life to work out. You are learning how to stand still and allow alignment to catch up to you. Stillness is misunderstood. It looks passive from the outside, but internally it requires courage because stillness removes distraction. It exposes the truth of what you believe about yourself when nothing is pushing you forward. That is where real faith is refined. I remember a season when nothing dramatic was happening outwardly, yet everything was rearranging inwardly. No sudden miracles, no big breakthroughs, just a slow, steady settling. At first, I thought I was being overlooked, but later, I realized I was being stabilized. The universe was building a foundation strong enough to hold what was coming. Foundations are invisible by design. You have been tempted to measure progress by visible results, by comparisons, by timelines that do not account for internal transformation. But your path was never meant to be rushed. Rushed foundations crack under pressure. Yours is being reinforced. This is also why impatience has felt uncomfortable lately, not because you do not want more, but because forcing timing now would betray your growth. Something in you refuses to move prematurely. That is wisdom asserting itself. The universe honors wisdom more than speed. There is another layer of this preparation that deserves your attention: boundaries. Wealth cannot remain where boundaries are weak. And you have been learning, sometimes painfully, how to say no without explaining yourself, how to step back without guilt, how to protect your energy without feeling selfish. That learning did not come easily. It came through exhaustion, through moments where you realized that giving endlessly was not noble if it emptied you completely. Those moments were not failures, they were corrections. Abundance requires containment. Without containment, money leaks through obligation, guilt, rescue patterns, unspoken expectations. The universe has been teaching you containment quietly, helping you recognize which responsibilities are yours and which ones you inherited without consent. You are allowed to lay those down. This is where many people struggle. They believe being chosen means being available to everyone. But being chosen actually means being entrusted with discernment, with stewardship, with limits. You cannot host overflow if you are constantly drained by unaligned demands. Notice how your tolerance for emotional chaos has decreased, how certain conversations tire you now, how certain dynamics no longer feel sustainable. That is not distance. That is alignment asserting itself. The prosperous version of you is selective not out of pride, but out of preservation. Preservation is sacred when it protects purpose. There is also something important about how you relate to time now. You no longer rush mornings the same way. You value quiet pockets. You understand the cost of constant urgency. This shift is subtle but powerful. Wealth moves comfortably around people who respect time because time awareness signals readiness. You are no longer living reactively. You are living intentionally even when circumstances still require effort. That intentionality is what turns effort into investment instead of depletion. The universe is watching how you move now, not to test you, but to confirm readiness. And what it sees is someone who has learned patience without resignation, hope without desperation, desire without obsession. That balance is rare. There may still be moments when old fear surfaces. Fear of losing momentum, fear of stagnation, fear of missing out. When that happens, pause and notice the difference between fear and intuition. Fear is loud and urgent. Intuition is calm and firm. The voice guiding you now is calm. Trust it. I want to speak to another hidden emotion you have carried. Anger, not explosive anger, but quiet resentment. Resentment toward systems that rewarded less effort with more return. Toward people who advanced faster while you stayed steady. Toward circumstances that demanded maturity from you too early. That resentment does not make you ungrateful. It makes you honest. And honesty is the gateway to release. You do not need to pretend those feelings never existed. You only need to recognize that they no longer get to lead you. Wealth does not respond well to bitterness. It responds to neutrality, to clarity, to a heart that has processed pain instead of storing it. You have been doing that work slowly, privately, often without applause. This is why your wealth will feel different. It will not come with chaos attached. It will not demand emotional repayment. It will not require you to become someone you are not. It will meet you where you are, grounded, discerning, present. You are stepping into a phase where money stops feeling like a measure of worth and starts feeling like a resource that flows through purpose. That shift alone dissolves anxiety, because when money is no longer tied to identity, it loses the power to threaten you. Threat-free wealth stays. I want you to imagine, not vividly, not forcefully, but gently, what it would feel like to trust your life again. To trust that you do not need to micromanage every outcome. To believe that alignment is active even when you are resting. That trust is forming now. You are not standing on the edge of chaos. You are standing on the edge of consistency, of rhythms that support you instead of exhaust you, of increase that does not ask for sacrifice but stewardship. This is the season where you stop proving and start permitting. And that permission, quiet, internal, unwavering, is what signals the universe that you are ready to hold what is next without losing yourself. Stay here. Stay grounded. Stay open. You are closer than you think. Not because you pushed harder, but because you finally learned how to stand still without fear. There is a moment in every transformation that feels almost anticlimactic. Nothing dramatic happens, no loud announcement, no sudden proof, and yet something irreversible locks into place. That moment is happening to you now. It feels like a quiet knowing, a settling, a sense that you no longer need to rehearse your worth in your mind. You are not trying to convince yourself anymore. You are simply recognizing what has already been true beneath the noise. This is important because wealth does not respond to convincing. It responds to congruence. Congruence is when what you believe, what you expect, and how you move begin to align naturally. Not perfectly, not performatively, but honestly. And honesty has a frequency that money understands. For a long time you lived in contradiction. You believed abundance was possible, but you expected difficulty. You spoke faith, but you prepared for disappointment. That contradiction was not hypocrisy. It was protection. It kept you from hoping too freely in a world that taught you hope could be expensive. That protective layer has done its job, and now it is being gently removed. You may notice that you are less interested in proving you are right, less eager to explain your plans, less reactive when others do not understand your timing. That is not withdrawal, that is internal authority forming. Authority does not announce itself. It stabilizes. When authority forms inside, the need for external confirmation dissolves. I remember the exact moment I stopped chasing reassurance. It was not because I finally had enough money. It was because I realized reassurance had never actually made me feel safe. Safety came when I trusted my own alignment more than others' opinions. That shift changed everything. Opportunities became cleaner. Decisions became simpler. Money stopped feeling like a verdict and started feeling like a byproduct. That shift is available to you now because you have done the inner work most people avoid. You have questioned your motives. You have confronted your fears. You have sat with discomfort instead of numbing it. That inner honesty is what makes wealth sustainable, because wealth will amplify whatever it finds. And what it is finding in you now is clarity. There is also something else happening that you might not have named yet. Your relationship with desire is changing. Desire no longer feels desperate. It feels grounded. You still want more, but the wanting no longer controls you. You can imagine abundance without gripping it. That neutrality is powerful. Neutral desire creates flow. Gripping desire creates friction. The universe trusts neutral desire. You are also learning that receiving does not require justification. You do not have to explain why this season is yours. You do not have to apologize for ease when it arrives. You do not have to downplay your blessings to make others comfortable. That self-editing habit is dissolving, not because you have become insensitive, but because you have become secure. Security is quiet. It does not rush to share. It does not rush to hide. It simply exists. Notice how your body responds now when you think about money. Less tightening, less urgency, less mental noise. That is regulation. And regulated people attract regulated outcomes. Stable opportunities, sustainable income, relationships with money that do not swing between extremes. Chaos and abundance rarely coexist for long. One eventually pushes the other out. And in your life, chaos is losing its influence. There may still be moments when old habits try to resurface. The urge to overthink, to plan excessively, to brace yourself just in case. When that happens, do not shame yourself. Simply notice it and return to the present moment. Presence is your new anchor. Presence is where wealth recognizes you. Money does not arrive because you worried correctly. It arrives because you were available to receive it without panic. You are becoming available. I want to speak to the idea of enough because this is where many people misunderstand wealth. Enough is not a number. It is a nervous system state. You can have little and feel enough. You can have much and never feel it. You are learning how to feel enough now before the numbers change. That is wisdom. When enough is internal, more becomes optional, not necessary. And optional abundance flows more easily because it is not burdened with survival pressure. You are not manifesting money. You are stabilizing yourself so money can stay. This is why your process feels slower than others. Speed without stability leads to loss. Stability creates endurance. And endurance is what builds real wealth. Not just financial, but emotional, relational, spiritual. You are becoming someone who can enjoy what arrives. Enjoyment is not frivolous. It is evidence of alignment. People who cannot enjoy what they receive often sabotage it unconsciously. The universe spares you that cycle by teaching you how to receive joyfully without suspicion. You may also notice that your definition of success is evolving. It is no longer just about accumulation. It is about how your life feels day to day, how you wake up, how you move through responsibilities, how you recover from stress. That shift indicates maturity. Mature wealth seeks harmony, not domination. There is a reason you are still here, still listening, still open. Something in you recognizes truth when it hears it. Not because it is dramatic, but because it resonates. Resonance is the body is yes, and your body has been saying yes more often lately. That yes matters. It tells the universe you are no longer resisting ease, no longer suspicious of blessing, no longer equating struggle with virtue. You are choosing alignment over endurance. That choice changes the trajectory of a life. I want you to notice how different this feels from trying to believe harder. There is no strain here, no pressure, just a gentle recalibration. That is how real transformation happens, quietly, incrementally, irreversibly. Abundance is not rushing toward you. It is walking calmly, confidently because it recognizes stability when it sees it. And you are becoming stable, not rigid, not closed, but rooted. Rooted people are not shaken by fluctuation. They understand cycles. They trust timing. They know when to act and when to rest. That rhythm is forming in you now. You are not behind. You are not catching up. You are arriving in yourself, arriving in your authority, arriving in a version of you that does not need to prove readiness, because readiness is already embodied. Stay with this feeling. Let it settle. Let it inform how you move, how you decide, how you receive. This is what it feels like when alignment becomes permanent. Not loud, not dramatic, just real. There comes a point where transformation stops feeling like effort and starts feeling like truth. You are no longer reminding yourself. You are no longer rehearsing beliefs. You are simply living from a quieter center. That center is what the universe responds to. For a long time you thought change would feel like adrenaline, like excitement, like a rush of certainty. But what you are experiencing now is different. It is steadier, less emotional, more grounded. That is how you know it is real. Real alignment does not shout. It settles. You are beginning to trust yourself in ways you never could before. Not because you suddenly know everything, but because you have survived enough confusion to recognize clarity when it arrives. You have made mistakes. You have carried consequences. You have learned discernment the hard way. That lived experience is what gives your intuition authority now. Authority is not dominance. It is self-trust without apology. This is why you do not feel the need to rush decisions anymore. You have learned that timing matters more than speed, that choosing well once is better than choosing fast many times, that patience, when guided by intuition, is not delay but precision. The universe works through precision. There is also a softness returning to you that you may not have felt in years, a gentleness with yourself, a willingness to rest without guilt, to pause without fear. That softness is not weakness. It is safety returning to your body. And safety is fertile ground for abundance. Money does not like nervous environments. It does not stay where panic lives. It flows toward steadiness, toward people who can hold it without needing it to fix them. You are becoming someone who does not need money to feel whole. And that wholeness is what allows money to arrive without conditions. I want you to notice how your internal dialogue has changed. You no longer speak to yourself with the same harshness. You are less likely to accuse yourself of not doing enough. When challenges arise, you respond instead of react. That shift alone changes outcomes. Reactive people create cycles. Responsive people create pathways. And pathways are opening around you now, not because you forced them, but because you stopped blocking them with fear. Fear always tries to control timing. Alignment trusts timing. You are learning the difference. There was a season when you equated control with safety. If you could anticipate every outcome, manage every variable, maybe nothing would collapse. That mindset kept you functioning, but it also kept you tense. Now something deeper is teaching you that safety comes from presence, not control. Presence allows adjustment. Control resists it. This is why life feels more fluid now. Even if circumstances have not fully changed yet, internally you are less rigid, less braced, more available. And availability is what attracts opportunity. Opportunities are not just events, they are moments when readiness meets timing. You are becoming ready in ways that cannot be measured externally. You may still look around and think nothing looks different, but alignment rarely announces itself through appearances first. It announces itself through ease, through reduced resistance, through moments where things work out without drama. Pay attention to those moments. They are evidence. I remember a season when my life looked the same on the outside, but inside everything had shifted. Decisions felt clearer. Delays did not trigger panic. Unexpected expenses did not unravel me. That inner steadiness was the signal. Within months, the outer world followed. Your outer world is listening to your inner posture, and your posture has changed. You are no longer begging life to cooperate. You are cooperating with life. That cooperation removes friction. It allows flow to replace force. There is also a deep relief settling in you, the relief of not having to be on all the time. You do not need to perform strength. You do not need to carry everything alone. You are allowing support in subtle ways, through rest, through boundaries, through saying no without explanation. Support does not always come as people. Sometimes it comes as systems, as rhythms, as opportunities that fit instead of stretch you. Those are forming now. Prosperity that fits your life feels different than prosperity that disrupts it. You are being prepared for fit, for income streams that align with who you are, not who you pretended to be to survive. You do not need to hustle to prove value. Your value is inherent. You do not need to suffer to earn rest. Rest is part of your design. That truth is settling into you not as an idea, but as a lived reality. You may notice that you are less reactive to scarcity narratives now, less triggered by fear-based messaging, less swayed by urgency tactics. That is because your identity is no longer negotiable. You know who you are becoming, and that knowing creates calm. Calm people make better decisions. Better decisions create stability. Stability attracts resources. It is a simple equation, but it requires inner work most people avoid. You did not avoid it. You walked through uncertainty without losing your integrity. You stayed aligned when shortcuts tempted you. You honored your values even when it slowed progress. That integrity is not invisible. The universe sees it, and integrity is one of the strongest magnets for sustainable wealth. This is not the season of proving faith. It is the season of living from it. Faith is no longer something you summon. It is something you embody. And embodied faith is quiet, confident, patient. You do not need signs every day. You do not need constant reassurance. You trust the process because you trust yourself within it. That trust is everything. As you continue forward, let your decisions come from this grounded place. Let your pace be informed by wisdom, not pressure. Let your expectations be shaped by alignment, not comparison. You are not here to replicate someone else's path. You are here to live yours fully. Abundance recognizes authenticity. It stays where truth lives, and truth is becoming your default. Remain present, remain grounded, remain open. What is aligning now does not need force to arrive. It only needs you to stay as you are, rooted, aware, ready to receive without fear. Take a moment and breathe. What you have received here was not information. It was confirmation. The universe has been speaking to you quietly for a long time, and now the message has met you at the exact moment it was meant to. This is your moment. Not someday. Not later. Now. A supernatural transfer is already in motion. You may not see every detail yet, but alignment has been sealed. What was delayed has found its timing. What was restrained has found its release. And what was prepared in the unseen is ready to manifest in the seen. You are stepping into the wealthy version of yourself, not driven by fear, not shaped by struggle, but grounded in peace, wisdom, divine order. Remain faithful to this alignment. Guard your spirit. Move gently. Stay grateful even before the evidence appears, because gratitude is the language of trust. Wisdom reminds us that what is appointed will not delay when the time has fully come. And your time has come. Go forward with reverence and confidence. Let ease replace effort. Let flow replace force. Let provision meet purpose. If this word settled in your spirit, softly mark this moment by commenting Chak 777. If you feel led right, declare, I am wealthy as a declaration of alignment, and stay connected, not out of obligation, but as a witness to what is unfolding. You are blessed, you are aligned, and you are exactly where the universe intended you to be.